Well, here we are back. We're going to talk about curriculum, and it is going to be so fun. I love curriculum, but before we start curriculum, we're going to talk about several different things. Let me find my banners. We're going to see if we can knock this out in 30 minutes. This is the longer one because there's so much stuff to cover. Most of the videos are kind of short and to the point. This one's a little bit more fun. I actually like this. Okay, so we're going to start with how do I know what do I teach? How do I know what to teach? Okay, this is going off if you are doing traditional homeschooling. If you are doing a distance learning or public school at home, they're going to tell you what to teach. If you choose to do traditional homeschooling, that's more where we are. So, how do you know what to teach? Well, if you buy a packaged curriculum, they're going to tell you what to teach. But you still want to know that you're hitting the right milestones or the scope and sequence. And that's the term you look for when you start Googling, scope and sequence. There is one, I'm going to see, let me pull it up real quick. I forgot to do this part. Sorry, guys. Give me just a minute. I'm going to pull that up. Let's see. Anyway, so when I start looking, what I like to use when I look is called World Book. I'm going to type that in there. World Book Typical Course of Study. Now, what they have compiled is, let me make sure that you see this. Okay, good. They have 10% off. Ignore that. What they have is they took like all the schools are around the country, looked at what they were teaching, and compiled a list. Now, this is kind of based on Common Core. They have an old one before Common Core, but it is really, really hard to find. I'm not actually sure where to find that right now. I would have to Google. I used to know, but you get busy, you forget. So anyway, you have one for every grade all the way up. Let's see. I'm going to make sure I don't have any comments on there because if I have comments when I'm moving around, I won't see you. So anyway, on here, let's see. So let's pick a grade. Let's say, okay, I have a 7th grader. She will be in the 7th grade this year. So we can look at what she does. Let's see. This is kind of like a guide, and they kind of go through here. Note about middle school arts curriculum. Middle level curriculum often includes and offers experiences and studies in various areas of art. So they have art, and it's almost like a checklist. And they just go through all the different skills. There's health and safety, language arts, science. I'm going real fast. I'm sorry. So they have a little bit of everything. If you have, let's say, kindergarten. I have a kindergartner this year. I can go back and here's kindergarten. They even have preschool here, the things that you should be covering in preschool. So anyway, so here they have all the different things, what they have that you can cover. You can download it. You can find other things. If you're out there looking, you can Google scope and sequence. And then if you go to Google and you put in the name of your school system, let's say like if you're local, you're in Mobile County or Saraland City or Baldwin County. In my area, you would go in Baldwin County, scope and sequence, and the grade. And then it should pick up, in theory, pick up where it is. That's the easiest way to do it. You can also do Alabama, scope and sequence, 1st grade, and it should pick up the statewide. You can find it several different ways, but that's the term you're looking for. This is the World Book Typical Course of Study. You can also, if you have a younger child, might be able to find something on PBS. You can just Google scope and sequence for the grade level, and it will pull up what you're supposed to be covering that year. So that's kind of how you know what's covered on that grade level. And then you can take it, and if you're looking at a curriculum, let's say you're looking at ABECA, you can go over to ABECA and you can say ABECA scope and sequence 1st grade as an example. And then you're going to pull up what they're teaching. So then you can compare what the state is teaching, what you're teaching. Then you're hitting what they need to hit if you're putting them back in school, in public school, private school, after, this life we know of as COVID is gone. So that's what you would do. If you're not planning to put them back, then I would not worry quite. I wouldn't be like overwhelmingly worried. I always make sure my kids are on level for math and their language arts, because if something happened, let's say, God forbid, next year I was in a car wreck or something happened, I needed to put them in public school, as long as their math and their language arts are strong, everything else works out. I mean, as if they know how to study and learn, if I've taught them how to do that, everything works out. But you want their math and their language arts to be strong. Those I never skip those. If we have it, like one year we had a really horrible year, never skipped those. Science and history was not quite as strong that year. It comes out in the wash. That's just how it is. So, okay, that's how you know what to teach. Now, let me go over to my notes, because notes, it helps you, helps me. That's how you're going to know what to teach. Okay, so where are you going to find curriculum? Well, this is the thing with curriculum. I'm going to actually unstop my share right now, because, So where do you find curriculum? Well, before you even really start to look for curriculum, you've got to narrow down your search. Now, there is so much homeschool curriculum out there, it is overwhelming. Don't overwhelm yourself. Ask yourself 2 questions, and those are your first 2 questions to narrow this down. The first one you want to do is to make sure you ask yourself, do you want secular curriculum or you want faith-based curriculum? That's your first thing. Where you go after that is going to, it kind of changes it. So go there first, decide which one you want. And some people will say, oh, it doesn't matter. Some people say it does matter. I can't answer that question for you. So first you're going to say, do you want this or this? And that's going to help narrow down, because they are 2 very different things. Then you're going to ask yourself, do you want it online or offline? That helps narrow down. Those are your 2 first questions with curriculum that you need to ask yourself. Then when you get through those 2, I forgot to pull something up. This is what happens when you go on vacation. Give me just a minute. Let me pull these up. Then when you get to that point, I'm going to pull this up. You should, let's see, slides. I have some other stuff. Then at that point, you're going to start looking at how your children learn. Okay, here they are. There. Okay, let me go back to screen share so I can share this with you. Wrong one. Okay, so we're going to, let's see if I can make this a little bigger. Let's see how that looks there. Okay, and you can ask questions. I'll come back periodically, make sure. Okay, so we're going to talk about learning styles and teaching styles. These are 2 things that you will see when you look at homeschool curriculum. So you've asked yourself the first 2 questions. Do you want secular or faith-based? Do you want it online or offline? And now we're going to think about how our children learn. Now, I will post some resources in the group after this segment is over so that you can find anything I'm talking about in there. So, okay, so this is the first one. Let's see. Okay, first things first, you have to relax. Remember, you don't have to have all the answers today. You can take it one day at a time. One of the beauties we all learn. Yeah. I learn all the time. I change things up with my kids all the time. That's just how it is. And we have a good time. Okay, so scope. Yeah, see, I should have pulled this up earlier. I had these notes. Okay, testing and assessment. That's another thing people ask. It depends on your state. Some states require it, some don't. If your state does not, Alabama does not require testing, it's not a bad thing. I like to go to a company called Let's Go Learn. They have math and reading only. They were $25 each. You have to dig for that price because they want you to buy tutoring. So you just have to keep going deeper and deeper until you find around $25. But it's Let's Go Learn. They have math, they have reading. Honestly, for a homeschooler who's doing traditional homeschooling, this is about all you need. And this is it's just, it gives you an assessment of how they're doing. You can take the different standardized tests. They're out there, like the SAT. SAT, you have to have a teacher or a certified person. You can't give your child this test. There are other ones that you can give your child, but you have to dig. Iowa, I believe you can do it. There's some other ones. You just have to Google standardized test, parent administered, and you should be able to come up, or ask in the groups. Most parents will kind of know. Now, they may tell you, well, you don't need it, but that's okay. It's still not a bad thing to do, but it's just, it's okay to have. It's not required. It's up to you. ACT is out there. My children all take the ACT when they graduate. That's just something I ask of them. I do not do the SAT. That's just me. It's too much trouble. I am certified to give it, but I can't give it to my own children. And I actually don't set up to do anybody else's children either. I thought about it. It's hard and it's fiddly, and it's just easier to find someone who will let you do it that has bigger space than I have. Okay, so if every curriculum you try out, most of them, the math and the reading sections, will have placement test. It shows you where you fit in the curriculum. And if you put them back in public school and you have been doing traditional homeschooling, they are going to give your child a placement test. That's just showing where they go in the curriculum. It's not a huge deal. It's not as long as you keep their math and their reading good, you're doing good. So anyway, let me make sure there's no questions, no comments before I go on to the next one. Okay, let's see. So learning styles. Okay, so there are 7 basic learning styles with children. The younger they are, I like to include as much as possible with all of them. Even when they get older, it's like 2 or 3 will blend together. It's like most personalities. So we have visual. We have, I can never say this word, but it's sound and music. Verbal, physical, logical, social, solitary. I have 5 kids. I have seen most of them have different ones of these. It's just never, but it's like usually 2 or 3 that kind of play together. Like my son, my daughter, well, my son, he's very hands-on, very physical, always was. But he did okay with, what's it called? Let's see, let me find it. The solitary, work alone, self-study. I have one that is absolutely my girl loves this, does wonderful with that. So we're going to go over those. Let's see. Here's some resources. Did I go over those? Okay, I didn't go over theirs. I'm going to go back. Okay, I thought I had more on that. Okay, so visual, that's pictures, images, spatial learning. That's I have one that is visual. She does really great with videos. She likes them, she learns, and I don't fight that. I use, she's going to be in 7th grade. I have, for science and history, I have like a book for a spine, and we will have lots of documentaries this year and lots of little short segments from YouTube, and I will pull them out and put them with whatever subject. So she'll read the section because I want her to still practice her reading, even though she does not like it, like words and stuff like that. Like that's verbal with speech and writing things down. She just does good with visual, but I try to blend everything so that she's still getting it other ways, because when she hits college, she may not be able to pick and choose how she learns. So I try to blend them. Audio, which is sound and music. That's where they're hearing things. Maybe they like to hear audio books. I mean, they're just different kids learn different ways. Verbal, that's writing with words with speech. That may be like traditional teaching, having a lecture. I have one that likes lecture style type stuff. She likes solitary learning too. She doesn't really like a group. We work with that. I still have her work with groups because I want her to have all the sections. Physical is hand, body, touch, especially when they're small children. When they're small children, I try to use all of these because we don't quite know where they are yet, and I want to make sure they're catching things. But my son was very much like this. My little's like this. My Gabriella, who starts high school this year, she is very hands-on. I took her to workshops to learn how to plant mushrooms. That's her favorite thing. Logical, that's logical reasoning systems. That's having to have everything in a system. That's my senior this year. That's how she learns. Social learning in groups. My son loved that. You can find those with traditional schooling, with co-ops. You can find them classrooms. Like most of the museums have homeschool, at least in my area, have homeschool classes. Group music lessons. We have a music studio that has group lessons for homeschoolers. Then there's solitary. That's somebody who likes to work alone and self-study. I do have one like that. She's probably my bright and gifted. Maybe sometimes I even think she's on the spectrum, even though she's never been tested. Now that she's older, I think that, but that's not always good. She needs to be with a group too. So we work through that. I'm going to make sure we don't have any comments before we move on. Let's see. Okay. We're going to go to the next one. Okay, so resources. If you want to find more, where do you go? And I will post the links. I will post in the group. The Big What Now Book of Learning Styles by Carol Barnier is awesome. It's one I keep on my shelf. Discover Your Child's Learning Style with Willis and Hodgson. The Way They Learn by Cynthia Tobias. Those are all books. You can find them. Some of them might be at your library. Some of them you might have to order. There's some websites that you can go to. I will post those later so that you can go there and find more. But these are typical. This is not like a homeschool thing. It's like you'll find it across the board. You'll find those things. Let's see. Now, one more time, I'll check, make sure there's no comments. Then I'm going to go back because I know you can see me, but when I have my notes up, I can't see you. So I have to check. So anyway, let's go. Teaching styles. Okay, with homeschooling, there are different styles, and this is where it will help you with curriculum too, because there are different styles of teaching, and you will hear these names when you start researching curriculum. So one style is called classical. And we're actually going to go through this. These are the styles. I'm going to go through them. Classical, Montessori, Charlotte Mason, Unschooling, Traditional, Waldorf, Unit Studies, Reggio Emilia, which is one that is new to me because I don't hear that one much, but it's a thing, and Eclectic. So we're going to go through those. Let's see. Classical. Okay, so classical education has been around for a long time. It's actually the first one I ever found when I started researching homeschool when my son was hitting kindergarten. For those of y'all that don't know me, we have homeschooled 17 years now. Cole will be 19 this month. We started about this time 17 years ago. I had graduated from university. I had Cole, who was 2, and I had a newborn at this time. Well, my newborn was in September, so around September. So I looked at them. I knew how much daycare was going to cost. We decided it was not in our best interest to put Cole in daycare and the new baby in daycare, and that it was more beneficial for me to stay home. So I decided to homeschool preschool. I mean, I had met homeschoolers before. It was not a completely new concept. So I decided to homeschool. So once we hit about kindergarten, at that point, I was not looking back. I loved being with my kids. I loved teaching them. We had a third one on the way, and we decided to continue homeschooling, and the rest is history. So that's been 17 years, and this is where I started. I found the book. I'll tell you about it in a minute. The book I found it at the library, and what I loved is it was one book. I could read it, and it had suggestions for all the curriculum for 12 years. Now, it dates back to the Middle Ages. It has been around forever. They have private schools set on this teaching style. I'm sure there are public schools somewhere set on this teaching style. And this is a homeschool style. So it dates back to the Middle Ages, and the focus is teaching the students to learn for themselves through the Trivum or 5 tools of learning. I'm not going to go into detail with that. You can look up more if it sounds interesting. Learning happens in 3 stages. So it's like you're cycling through the main information 3 times, but you're doing something different each time. It's like the first you're doing this, then you cycle back through it like during the middle school ages, then you cycle back through it during the high school ages. And that's basically kind of what we have. We have like 3 sets. When you go to a school, you'll have like, different learning sets. So that's, so some resources to look for. The Core, I have not read that one. The Well-Trained Mind is the book I found at the library way ago, and it had everything there that I needed to, suggestions. I bought other curriculum, but it gave me all the suggestions on what to buy, and I was able to go look and find what worked for me. They've got another book called The Well-Educated Mind, which is for the parent, and I have not read that one. And then Classical Conversations is kind of like a co-op, a little bit like a franchise. It's all over the country. We do have some in Mobile. If you're in Mobile, they have some in Baldwin County. If you're in Baldwin County, if you're outside of Alabama or outside of that area, they're going to have it. All you have to do is Google your city, Classical Conversations. It is a very well thought of co-op. Okay, so that one I'm going to go and make sure there's no questions. No? Okay, we're doing good. So, next, Montessori. Montessori is well thought of. You can find usually elementary and daycare schools. You can find a Montessori school. It's going to be a little pricier. You might find a school that goes up up through the ages, but you might not. In my area, I have not seen that. It is a very well thought of, been around forever. It emphasizes open learning where the child picks what they want to learn and what materials they want to use. Favors beauty and uncluttered spaces. I actually have a couple of books on my shelf. I think it's called Montessori at Home Guide, I think, but I'm not at home. So the resources are Montessori, A Modern Approach, The Joyful Child, Montessori at Home Guide, and the Montessori Method. It's a very nice method. It works very well for littles. I have not seen it with older kids, but I don't know why it wouldn't. It's just a matter of doing research and finding people who can tell you more about that. Charlotte Mason is one you will hear about all the time. It is a big, Montessori is nice. This one's big. Classical and Charlotte Mason are probably the 2 biggest areas that you will find curriculum in. It has an emphasis on real life learning situations, living books, nature and play in living books. Living books it's like they don't want textbooks. It's like when you're studying history, let's say you're studying American history, you're looking for books from authors who love the subject and not a textbook. It's considered, it's very, I've used it with most of my kids for most of our schooling, and it's very gentle, very workable, lots of resources. You can find a twaddle-free education, Charlotte Mason Companion, Charlotte Mason Education for the Sake of the Child. These are all books. If you want to find free curriculum for Charlotte Mason, it's called AmplesideLearning.com. It goes all the way up through 12th grade. They give you suggestions. They have ebooks, kind of like Easy Peasy. You'll hear Easy Peasy all in one all the time because it's a free curriculum. That's free for Charlotte Mason. And you can, there are plenty of resources if you want to look at that and see what you like. I'm going to check and see if we have comments. No? Let's see. Now, next one. Unschooling. Unschooling can, do not confuse it with deschooling. They are not the same thing. Deschooling is an adjustment period after you leave traditional education or brick and mortar schools. Unschooling is a teaching style. It is also called child-led learning, interest-led learning, and I've heard it called family-based learning. My husband is very much an unschooler. I tell him this all the time. How many years ago? 13 years ago, he decided he was going to build our house. He researched it, watched YouTube, because YouTube was still around, was around then. It wasn't that old. He talked to contractors. He talked to the city engineer to get, and he taught himself to build the house. He built our house. He did a wonderful job. That was unschooling. That's what unschooling does. It's researching what the child wants to learn and learning. So it rejects that children must be taught to learn, which I agree. We all know children learn. They learn how to walk. They learn how to eat. And they have a driving force to learn. They learn speech. That's why babies watch our mouth. So, I mean, I really do agree with that. I think unschooling, the name has given it a bad rap. That it's, when you say unschooling, you feel like, oh, they mean we're not doing any school. That is not what they're doing. I mean, I really have high respect for the people that I know that use this style. Yeah, sometimes they tell me I'm a little bit of a closet unschooler. Not totally, but maybe I could see that. So resources that we have: How Children Learn, Homegrown, Dumbing Us Down, Project-Based Homeschooling, Homeschool Gone Wild, Inspired Learning Through Living, which I highly recommend. The woman who wrote that book is Carla and the Sensational Six. You can find her on YouTube, and you can find her on Facebook, and she has awesome videos. So lots of good stuff there. Even if you don't use that style, you can learn a lot from Miss Carla. Let's see, make sure there's no comments. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. Traditional. Traditional is going to be school at home. This is kind of where you would put public school at home stuff or anything like that. It is being textbooks, it's being lectured, worksheets, workbooks, textbooks, teacher-led learning. Resources for these, curriculum for these is Becca, Bob Jones, Liberty, and I can give you a whole list of online stuff. Most of these companies have online components too, but it is what you think of as school from when you were in school. When I'm exhausted or sick or something's going on, this is almost my default because that's what I know. So Waldorf, which is totally cool. I actually have some resources for there now. I didn't in the past. There is one lady called Waldorf with Melissa. You can find her on Facebook, and she has lots of resources for Waldorf. It's described as holistic, handiworks, knitting, weaving, very nature. If you like fiber arts, this would be one for you. Natural handiwork, natural materials. Montessori is a little bit like that too. So, but they're not quite the same. They have a little bit of different focus. But here are some ones: Beyond the Rainbow Bridge, The 7-Year-Old Wonder Book, Tell Me a Story, Heaven on Earth. Those are some resources that you can look at. I know some people who've used this for younger years, but I don't know a lot of people who've gone into high school with this. But I mean, I don't know why you couldn't. Unit studies. Unit studies is awesome. It's all the subjects are centered around one theme. I didn't even check to make sure there's no questions. Nope. I just want to make sure. All the subjects center around one theme. Teachers Pay Teachers has them. Pinterest has them. If you go into my main group, Professional Home Educator, I have one on that the mom taught on unit studies, Black History unit studies, and I mean, you get a lot of resources there. She shows you how she sets up a unit. They're great. Let's see, what's the name of it? 5 in a Row. 5 in a Row is awesome. I had the Before 5 in a Row for preschool. It's an awesome book, and it's basically unit studies. They take a theme, and everything goes around it. There's math, there's language arts, history, science, everything goes around that theme. So that's one you can look at. And it really works really well with when you have multiple children It is a very good, because I'm telling you, I did not stay with classical because it did not translate into multiple. I mean, I had 5. Did not work well. It was just very, very time consuming. And Charlotte Mason and unit studies both help a little bit when you have multiple children to not go crazy. So that's just me. Let's see. Reggio Emilia. Okay, this is one that was completely new to me when I started this workshop about 2 years ago. I wrote this one, and I've done it a couple of times. I still, even the groups that I found on Facebook were not very active, so this is not a big one. But here's some things. It's child-led, based on respect, responsibility, and community. Environment seen as a third educator, and it's very hands-on. Bringing Reggio Emilia home in the studio, spirit of the studio. So there's some stuff out there. It sounds great, and everything I read looks really nice. I would love to see people develop that area a little bit. Let's see. Eclectic. This is where I am. And we'll check, make sure. Okay, so family chooses what works best for them, and they blend styles. This is what I do. I have some. Like, come here. You want to be on the camera? You want to say hello? Look, you can't even see people. Look there. Now you can see yourself. Can you see there? I can't see myself. You're up here. Look there. Let me see. Look there. Say hello. Okay. Now you can finish what you're doing, and I'm gonna finish what I'm doing.
What?
Yeah.
When I moved my head this way, it's not there.
Because you're not on the camera. There you are. There you are. Okay. Now I'm gonna finish my stuff, and you finish your stuff. Okay. There. Eclectic. So with this is how my family does. We're very eclectic. Our math is very textbook traditional. Always has been. Our language arts is Charlotte Mason based because that's what works good for us. History is classical. For my high school I picked a classical history this year, but there's science. What is their science? It was textbook. So it's like I blend, and I'm picking stuff from different places to make them blend. And Olivia is going to. We have a spine. We picked a book off Amazon that's like a spine to go and cover everything I want to cover this year, and then we'll find documentaries to go along with it. So this is where I am. Any of the learning styles we talked about today and the resources will go with this one because I'm eclectic. It is also good if you're a closet unschooler like me. Like Olivia's history and science will have a lot of projects. We will dive deeper into what she's interested in, but we'll cover all the bases, but what she's interested in, we'll dive deeper. So I'm like, it just works for our family. That's just how it is. Okay, I want to make sure nobody is asking questions. Let's see, what's next? Resources for this. The eclectic homeschool.com homeschool philosophies quiz. This is for the whole thing. And the natural living beachliving.com homeschool methods. Everything named today. There's lots of resources that you can go through. There is a quiz that you can take if you want to see, and it's a fun quiz. I would take it with any quiz. You take it with a grain of salt because you just don't know. So anyway, I'm going to go on this one a little bit so you can look. I mean, this is what I got a lot of the information from. Or maybe I'll go on this one. Let's see. Let me make sure nobody's got questions. No. What else do we got today? I want to make sure I don't miss anything because I'm really good about forgetting. So let's see. Okay. Oh, yeah. See, I was going to completely forget stuff. Here we are. Outsourcing curriculum. This is totally a thing. I'm going to get rid of the stop share right now. Okay, outsourcing. See, I would have completely forgot a whole section of what I wanted to cover this morning. Outsourcing curriculum, totally a thing. I will post that link too. You can find ways to outsource curriculum if you're not wanting to teach. Then you become the facilitator. You have to make sure you're watching your children and make sure they're completing information, but someone else is responsible for teaching. Or some things it's just like animate. Like this right here, what we're doing today will go into a course. People can buy it later. They go through it at their own pace. Easy Peasy is one that is like, it's outsourced, but you've got to make sure they're finishing the work. There's no one actually sitting there teaching. It's like a guideline. So it's like there are ways to outsource curriculum. I do with my family. Math is online. I wish I had more tea. Yeah, you don't want me to slurp, do you? So outsourcing is a good thing. I think outsourcing is a good thing because I have high schoolers. Sometimes math is not my strong suit. I needed someone else to handle that. So you can, I'll post that this afternoon when I get through with this. So that is an option. There are places you can outsource. Lesson planning. I had some lesson plan. Okay, so lesson planning. Most curriculums will have a plan when you buy homeschool curriculum. You can tailor that plan to meet your needs. Now, it's like you buy, my math is online. It does not have a plan, but we kind of know, we look at how many 180 lessons, we have 180 days we need to cover. They go through it. Most sciences will have a plan. Most things are going to have a plan, or you're going to look at it and say, hey, there's 190 lessons. We need to finish them in 180 days. And you kind of divide everything out. So, or whatever they do. So that's not too hard, but most of them have some kind of plan. Sometimes you make the plan. Let's see. Homeschool scheduling styles. I want to show you some of that. Let me go over here and turn this on again. Let's see. Make sure I pick up the right homeschool scheduling. I'm sorry. I know y'all just looking at my nose. Okay, there they are here. Gonna screen share again. Let's see. Okay, so here we're looking at this. No, I can't see that real well. I'll go back here. So here are some different styles. Traditional scheduling. This is like going from August to May schedule. This is, you're doing a traditional school schedule, like we grew up with public school. That works. It worked well. Okay, we moved to that one when my children saw that their cousins were getting off in the summer and they were hitting their teen years. It works if you need that, or if you're, maybe I know some parents who the dad teaches. This works. You're used to it. Year-round schooling, that basically means that you're going out year-round and you're taking breaks when you need to take breaks. That is what we've done most of my children's life. We take a month at Christmas, like usually really about a month and a half. We go from Thanksgiving through the beginning of January, and then we start back. So that's like a month and a half. And then in the spring, when the weather is really nice, where I live, it's very hot. If you live in my area, you know what I mean. So why are we doing school when it's nice outside? So we take a break in spring when it's nice and the weather's great and we want to go places. And then in the summer when it's hot, my kids will go to camp and we'll take some time off for camp if they go to camp. This year they didn't go to camp, or we'll go take a day and go, but we're going through the year. And so we have time to stop. Calendar schooling was a new one to me. I had not done that before, and I actually met someone who does it. This is going from January to September. Do you see my hands? January to September. No, you don't see me. I don't see me at all. I was trying to pull those up big. So anyway, we go January to September. Then they have a big break off, and then they go from January to September. I actually love that schedule, and I wish I had done it growing with that makes perfect sense, because then you have when the weather's nice in the fall, and then you have the holidays off, and I think it works. Then there's Sabbath schooling. Sabbath schooling is when you'd go 6 weeks. This is like the biblical story. God made the world for 6 days, and then on Sunday he rested. This is taking that principle to weeks. 6 weeks of work, a week off to catch up all your house stuff, and then you go back to 6 more weeks. Block scheduling is kind of like if you are in college and you have, let's say in your fall semester, you were in college. You can remember if you were there, you took 4 classes. Then the next semester you're taking 4 more classes. And then the next semester you're taking 4 more classes. So this is block scheduling, and it actually works very well for high school. And you can consider giving your high schoolers this chance. They work and get everything done, and it's done. Loop scheduling. This one I don't have the hugest handle on, but basically you're writing out what you want every week done, and you work on it during the day. And when you get tired, like you're doing math, you work on your stuff. And then when you're tired with math, you move on to the next subject. And when you're tired and done for the day, you're done. Then the next day you pick up where you left off. So you're hitting everything you want, but it's like a cycle. I don't have a good handle on that. I'm going to see if I can pull out some more. I don't have a good handle on how this one works. I think it should work really great. I'm just Pam Barnhill. If you Google her name, she has awesome resources on her pages. Let's see if I can find them. I was thinking that she had a little bit more explanation. Here she's got some. Okay, yeah, she has some stuff on here. I'll make sure I post this link. I think I just skipped the loop. Okay. Go up I'm afraid I'm going to miss it if I go too far. Loop scheduling is another variation that allows you to get to all of your subjects without feeling left behind. Homeschool days are notorious for being interrupted. Every week you manage to complete the subject scheduled on Monday to Thursday, but for some reason those scheduled on Friday never get done. Okay, so what they're doing is making a list. She actually has some downloads, and so if you're interested in that, she has a lot of resources that you can look at. I will post that link. Let me stop that share. Okay. Anyway, so that's basically all of the stuff that we have to cover on this session. At 2 o'clock, we're going to go over socialization and extracurricular. If you have questions, put them in the comments. I can answer them. If you want to meet with me, you can find the scheduling thing. Tuesday night, Thursday, I have time to meet and talk about different issues, and we can look at these more. But I enjoyed this session. This is probably the biggest one that we have all week because this has so much to answer. And if you want more help, the Zoom meeting question and answer is the best place to do it because we can actually see each other face to face and talk, and I can show you stuff. It's kind of hard when I'm talking to a wall and I don't see you. It's, because there's so many different things that get into play. But I will see you at 2. And other than that, have a great afternoon. Go grab some lunch. That's what I'm going to do. And my baby keeps coming in here to see me. Yeah, baby.